Good evening, televiewers. Glad again to be back and to discuss what is touching on our national, international life on Prime R. We've been away for some time, giving you the opportunity to follow what is happening out there in Qatar. We're talking about the 2022 World Cup, and we understand that Cameroon was booted out of the competition at the group stages, though in a very satisfying manner, judged by many Cameroonians. Though some persons are still not very comfortable with the fact that Cameroon had to celebrate a win over Brazil, knowing that they were not going to qualify for the second round of this of the World Cup. We are this evening going to be looking at the performance of the Lions out there in Qatar. What went well, what did not go well, and what needs to be fixed. We are going to be discussing on this with panelists who are in the house already. Mr. Ako is in the house. He's a consultant with us throughout this tournament. He's here to also share his professional views on what went well and wrong with the Lions. Good evening, Mr. Enow. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leo. It's a pleasure to be here. And good evening to the other panelists.
We also are in the company of Mr. Fuh Denis Zang. He is the author of the trending phrase, "We go take that cup." Everybody is using the phrase out in Cameroon, and out of Cameroon. He's in the studio with us for the very first time on Prime R. Mr. Denis, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
How are you?
No, I'm good.
How's the Southwest?
No, the Southwest is doing very well.
We are glad to be with you. Tah Mai Javis is also sitting in for some other panelists who are still on the way. Good evening, Tah. We're glad to have you with us.
Good evening, Mr. Akum. Good evening to Mr. Denis. Good evening to Mr. Ako. And good evening to the peace-loving people of Way Village, above all the people of Moya.
We are going to be connecting with Wancha Cynthia, who is a sports journalist currently in Qatar. She just informed me that she left the stadium and is rushing to her room to get connected. She's going to be part of this edition of the program. We also are going to be having Mr. Nkede Lawrence, who is an excellent sports analyst, and he'll be joining us from Ewane, the nation's capital. But I'll start with you, Mr. Ako. Your rating of what the Indomitable Lions did out there in Qatar.
Thank you so much, Leo. I think that we had a fair representation of ourselves. You know, if everything went well, we would have qualified for the next phase of the tournament, but because we didn't perform based on our expectations and based on maybe performance rating in terms of football, consequently we were booted out in the first round. It's true that when we look at the performance of the Lions, we have made a lot of progress. I think that when we look at previous events, since 2002, I think Cameroon had not won any game at the event, but fortunately this time around we defeated one of the best nations in terms of football, that is Brazil. With the last time, and I think that in previous years we have not had more than 2 goals scored in the tournament. We have had this time around we've scored 4 goals. And I think we've considered 3 against Serbia. We considered 1 against Swiss, making it 4. It therefore means we considered 4 goals, as well as we also scored 4 goals, giving an average a goal difference of 0. That's Cameroon performance for you. Now, historically, you realize that. In the year 2000, we last had 4 points in the World Cup. That was in 2002, Leo. And in 2002, we won Saudi Arabia, yes. I think 1-0. And we put that goal was scored by Samuel Eto'o, the current president of the federation. And we also drew 1-1 against Ireland. That was in 2002, where Patrick Demboma scored the goal for Cameroon. It was unfortunate that with New, it was also a game just like, it's a replica of what happened this year. The game against Ireland in 2002 is the game which we knew if we win, we qualify for the next phase of the tournament. Because in 2002, we had Germany, which was a powerhouse in the tournament. And we had pegged our games, knowing fully well that we needed to win
the other two, and then whatever happens with Germany,
we definitely qualify. Unfortunately, we won against Saudi Arabia, which was a very tough game.
Tough encounter,
And we then also picked up 1 point against Ireland at the time that was managed, which had a formidable player in the person of Damien Duff, who played at the time for Chelsea. That's to give you a storyline or memory lane on what the performance when we lastly had 4 points as far as the World Cup is concerned. In 2006, we were not present, but in 2010, we had a very dismal performance. We left the tournament, I think, with 0 point. In 2014, we left the tournament with 0 points. And in 2018 in Russia, we were absent. So this time around, we've picked up a victory and a draw. Now, when we are assessing it, it therefore means we need to look at historic performance of the Lions to know where we currently stand. If in the prior editions, we left the tournament with 0 points, and now we are leaving the tournament with 4 points, it therefore means even though we didn't qualify for the next phase of the tournament, it's a plus because we are making progress. When you look at it in terms of the caliber of nations that we actually played, this time around we played against Brazil, which is, I think, either in the first 3 in terms of FIFA rankings. We've played against Switzerland, which is, I think, the 15th in terms of FIFA ranking. We've played against nations that are at the top, I think, the first 20 in terms of FIFA ranking. Those are not easy nations to play as far as football is concerned. But football, as it is, we succeeded in picking up a draw against Serbia. We succeeded in defeating Brazil. Leo, in my opinion, we are making progress as far as football is concerned.
We are making progress. Mr. Fuh Denis Zang, you are the one known to have come up with the trending phrase. We could take the cup, we could take that cup, and you followed the performance of the Lions. You have seen them also participate in previous competitions, Nations Cup and the like. What is your assessment of who the Lions are today?
Thank you very much for that question. The Lions are indeed the Lions, the indomitable Lions. But if we look at their performance in the past years in competitions, I will tell you a lot was lacking in them. We only have to put on some seriousness in a competition that was in the year 2017, which we took the bull by the horn. It was like a force that we took the Nations Cup. So after 2017, from 2002 to 2017 to 2022, that we are trying to perform again like a football team. And the performance is coming as a result of a good management. I think the Cameroon football has been strategized, like bringing in Song Bahanak to manage the team, an old player to manage the indomitable, an old lion managing the cups. I think we are going to go places.
Yes, but their performance in Qatar, were you satisfied? Were you also worried with some compartments that were not working? Or overall, you say the guys did their best?
Their performance in Qatar was not good from the beginning. Was not good. From the first match and the second match, their performance was so too poor. I think it's due to the management was not stable They were not shaped at that point in time to know who is to play and who not to play. So my own urge when they were leaving Cameroon for Qatar, I knew they were going to win that cup. Sincerely, deep down in me, I knew that they were going to win that cup. But little did I know that the players have not been put in place the way I expected, because I knew that they have the players that can play and win that cup.
Yeah, what gave you that courage to believe that the Cameroon that you know, not ranked among the first 30 nations, would go to Qatar and win the cup?
Yes, I had that courage because I know, I was feeling it in me that we have not participated in a competition that is this serious. We hosted the Nations Cup CAN 2021. We played very well, but at a certain point we were knocked out. We were knocked out not because we didn't play well, we played well, but football also is a game of chance. Now, when I saw the performance they put on in that CAN 2021, and I gathered that courage from there, I move on, I say no, I'm beginning to see something coming, and including the fact that the president of Fecafoot is somebody with determination, and I'm seeing seriousness that he's putting in. He has changed the system of football in Cameroon. He has made it to be admirable. So that gave me the courage to understand that this time around, we are going to do something in the World Cup.
I saw videos of you circulating where you say, even about Corona, even about this, even about this. What did you mean by that?
When I said, even about Corona, or whether not by arbitra, whether not by etofiso, that's the might. By any means, who are you? Who is the team we are facing? We don't care who you are. That's what I was trying to say there. Like, people were saying you cannot even score a goal in the pool of Brazil. I knew we were going to win Brazil. That was why when somebody asked me, how are you going to play in the World Cup? I say we'll win Switzerland, we'll win Brazil and draw with Serbia. So, but since when I went into, I saw that there was also a lion in the opponent. The lion did the other way around. I wonder a cop can bite the male lion. I was so embarrassed. So
The Switzerland match.
no, not even the Switzerland match. The both matches, Switzerland match and Switzerland against Serbia. That lion have to kick us out. So I did not really see the competition as bad, because it is still me who blotted myself out of the competition.
Okay.
Yes.
You're talking about Mbolo?
Mbolo.
Okay. Yes, your assessment. First appraisal of the outing or the show of the Lions out there.
On a scale of 10, I'll give them at least 6.5.
Okay.
We cannot just be too much of a negative. If we look at, go by what Mr. Ako, who is a professional player and an analyst, are actually painted out. If you look at the performance within the last 2 editions of the World Cup, and if you look at where we are now, we are making progress. And if you borrowed with what Mr. Zang said, that the management of the team, if you look at the effort being put in place by President of Fecafoot, Samuel Etofis, to change the football narrative in Cameroon, to ensure that we live by the professionalism, it also gave me that courage that at least we could take that cup. Because if I look at what Song Eto'o has done within the period where he came in, the restructuring and strategizing, and the fact that before the World Cup, they had to go to different countries to beg players who are of Cameroon origin not to sign in different nations, that to come and play in Cameroon. Like we have the Buemo, where you saw he was to play in France, but he was talked to come and play in Cameroon. And you saw the effort that they made prior to the World Cup. It told, and it was clear that we could take that cup. But the challenge we had, as he pointed out, as Dennis pointed out, was that the coach has not understood his squad to know who can fit where and how. And you see the same, he gave a good prognostic that Cameroon will beat Brazil and draw with Serbia and beat Switzerland. Unfortunately, we did not. But the other ones came, because we drew with Switzerland and we trashed Brazil 1-0. So you see that it was closer to the narrative. Have you saw the way say the performance of the Lions, both from the field. The first match with Switzerland, the Lions played an average game, but the fact that we do not have the formation that we needed, in terms of from the 4-4-2 discipline, we didn't have that, and above all, we didn't have a starting Abubakar and Choupo-Moting, and so that was the error we did. But it's football. These errors, you must make them to correct them. Remember that with the past edition, we have gone with foreign coaches, we've had foreign management, and we've come out with 0 points. Like we went in Brazil, we came out with 0 points, and the previous one, we also came out with 0 points, and we went to South Africa 2010, we came out with 0 points. So if you look at where we are today, I will tell you that we are making some progress, even from the level of the management, from the level of the coaches. But there's one thing I had as problem was the effective management of the Onana saga, because I think that this is an internal affair. This is something that would have just been managed within the team without necessarily blowing it out of proportion. But when it was not well managed, then that's the only problem I had. But averagely, if you look at the performance of the Lions, it went well, because if you look at now we can say, okay, we now have the starting 11 of the Lions from the last match with Brazil. It tell you that we have Christopher Woe at the center defense. You have Ebuesa. Then now you can now have Castelletto who can now fit in. You know that, okay, you have Noutolo. You know you have Five Collins. You know you have Mbemo. You have Jerome who can come as a substitute, who can replace Mumingamale if Ngamale is fading out. You know that, okay, you can have Abubakar and Choupo-Moting there. You come to the center circle. You know that, okay, you have no, you don't have Zambo. Me, I'm not putting Zambo, because if I look at his performance from the first match, the second match, the third match, I don't have a problem with him. But as Mr. Ako will tell you,
you are not the coach.
No, I'm saying from my observation. I'm saying from my observation, from popular opinion.
He was not on form.
Because if you look at the first match we had, the first match we had, Zambo was not of the best performance.
Okay,
and the second match.
We are going to be looking at player after player, or some of these compartments. Later, I was taking your appraisal, general appraisal, Mr. Lawrence, I'm told, is online. Good evening, Mr. Lawrence. Welcome, and your appraisal of the team. We discussed about the team before when they departed, and they saw, I don't know whether they conquered, but your appraisal, what would you say is your rating of the performance of the Lions?
Well, good evening to all the viewers. It's always a pleasure to be on my media prime. Well, I think in order to evaluate a team, you must look at the objective.
Okay.
The objective was to play 7 matches. The president of the federation promised us to get to the finals of the World Cup, and you have to evaluate the team according to the set objective. I don't know whether the 7 games will count Uzbekistan, South Korea, Jamaica, Panama, Switzerland, Serbia, and Brazil. That will make 7 games in total. But that was an aside. Seriously speaking, I would say that the team had an impressive. We didn't excel as expected. We had to move out from the group stages. In 9 participation, we moved out of the group stages only once. That's in 1990, and bookmakers are saying that was a mistake in the history books. And in order to prove that it wasn't a mistake, we would have gone out of the group stages this time around. But it's rather unfortunate. We go there and we exit the competition from the group stages, and we are jubilating that we win Brazil. It all tells you the mindset of the players. On a rating of maybe 1 to 10, I would give it 4 over 10.
Okay, you give it 4 over 10. We discussed about the Ngandu, Bruhaha, and Saga. Do you think that the team missed Ngade?
Well, I think the team really missed Ngade because it was the first time we were going to the World Cup with just 7 defenders. Whereas each time we had a positive performance at the World Cup is because we went there with a solid defense. If you look in 1992, we had practically a double defense wall of about 4, 6, or 8 players playing really defensive football. If you look in 1990, we had about 6 or 7 players solid in the back. So you have to first be solid in the back before moving up front. We took 10 attackers, whereas we could only align a maximum of, I don't know, 4. We took just 7 defenders and just 2 central defenders, with the others very young. I mean, it's the last game that we discovered the Wu and Ebose pairing, but I think Gandhi was enormously lacking in that squad. But the coach makes his choices, and we advance with the choices the coach has made. So without or with Gandhi, it might be the same result. The coach has made a choice. Maybe we are looking forward and bringing up these youths, but I think he had a role to play in terms of experience. I would have preferred Gandhi than Kulu in that central defense. You know, Kulu just did 90 minutes for the entire season, since the kickoff of the season, just 19 minutes, not even 90 minutes of football to come and play the World Cup. So you understand, with his age, it's true that he has experience, but experience doesn't mean sending players, you run left, you run right, and you yourself doing nothing. It doubles the efforts the others playing around you have to make. So I think personally, it wasn't the best choice of leaving him out.
Now, did you feel the effects of those we played for the preparatory matches before this tournament? That is, we took time trying to discover the real team and also use the first match to still rediscover ourselves.
Well, I think we really used the first match to discover ourselves. Since Coach Rigobert Song took over, I've looked into the starting lineups. They have never been the same starting lineups in all his game. We don't begin with the same players. There is always 1 or 2 changes. We are still looking for the starting 11, and playing those friendlies without some players, I think it really handicapped us, because for some other teams, I think since last year they already knew exactly. Since 2021, they already knew exactly their starting 11, and at the beginning of the leagues, the European leagues, by September, many of the teams who already knew exactly their starting 11. That's why they just came in and jumped into the competition, whereas we were still looking for our left and our right, and I think it really messed up with us, especially in the first game against Switzerland, where the players were hovering around the stadium. They were looking for themselves. You didn't have this complicity between players. It was just a bunch of individuals putting on the green, red, and yellow jerseys, and we really paid for it. And I think that match really accounted for our early exit at the World Cup.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ako. Let us look at the impact of those we choose to play our friendlies with and our overall performance at the World Cup. Did it play negatively or positively? No.
Yes, Mr. Liu, I think that there has been no cohesion in the team in terms of player management, because when you look at most of those guys who played during the friendlies, we'll take, for example, the game against Jamaica here in Yaoundé. We know almost all the players who played, none of them actually showed up during AFCON, during the World Cup, with the exception of Abubakar, who came later on and raised up, who received the flag from the government representative. So I think that those are some of the things that we decry in football, that you need to create a spirit of togetherness, cohesion, because when you play consistently together, you get to know the strengths and weaknesses of maybe your peers. But when every blessed day you're having a change of players, and it plays negatively in the performance of each and every one. Because when you look at, if during the period of World Cup friendlies, FIFA open up calendar, if during that period Rigobert Song wanted to choose some of these players, he would have made sure that we use a lot of these players during that period of friendlies to play, so that they could understand one another. And that again gives a spirit of, you know, in football we have some canons in football. There are canons of performance in football. So in football there's nothing like miracle. In football you have canon of performance, and some of those canon of performance you have mental strength, you have tactical disposition, you have technical disposition, then you have physical disposition. Those are some of the canons in terms of performance management of a game. If you don't have in a particular day some of those canons, you will risk not winning the game. And how do you build up some of these things? Is during friendly games and maybe during other events.
Since these players are
everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Now, we just came out from the Nations Cup where we emerged third in the tournament. It was a beautiful tournament for us to peck the level of the Lions. And what we're supposed to do, we're just simply supposed to look at, to mirror ourselves, those areas that were lacking, those players that we think that we don't need to proceed. We now look for other players to replace. And those, the new players who have, they will use the FIFA window period to play together. And that brings a spirit of cohesion. And it brings also something which is so fundamental, this communication among players. Because while you're in the pitch, there are some players, Leo, I can tell you, based on attitude of players, will not want to give the ball to X or give the ball to Y. It tells you during that period, you need to know, even that your tonnage, the way you speak to your peers, because there is a way you talk that can motivate your mate, and the way you speak can also demotivate another mate. So, but that period is a period where you build these characteristics in the game. But unfortunately, we did not capitalize on the FIFA calendar to blend these players together. So I think that that was a fundamental problem. Reasons why we all saw during the tournament that every blessed game had different set of players. But if we had used those games as an opportunity, that would have been a proper focus for the kind of players we're supposed to use. For example, the first game, the center back, you had Nkulu played with Castelletto. The next game, Nkulu played with Castelletto. The third game, we had Wu and Ebose. You don't do that during the World Cup tournament. In the World Cup tournament, before going for it, we already know those players that will be the starting 11, and except you want to change strategies, because at times the way the game is being played, the opponent. So I think that if we had used the opportunity that FIFA had given, the game we played against Panama, the game we played against South Korea, the game we played against Uzbekistan, Jamaica, would have used all those games for these guys to play together and for us to identify which player is best fit for the tournament. Look at the first game. The coach replaced Boemo, Chupomotin, and Carl Toko Ekambi, brought in Abubakar, brought in I think he brought in Abubakar,
Basok came in the second match.
So the change which he did during the first game, he did not read the game, in my opinion. He did a change based on the dressing room system of change, because there's a dressing room approach of change where before the game begins, we know that X will be replaced at maybe the 50th minute and Y will get in. But the most appropriate change in football is when the coach reads the game and understands the weaknesses as the game goes, or as the game proceeds. You read the strategy where the areas where we are having issues, then you make strategic changes. Reasons why some coaches can remove a defender and bring in a striker, because you know at that point in time that you need a goal. So I think that, but unfortunately these guys had not played together for so long. Consequently, they couldn't just identify the strengths and weaknesses of each player. I'll give you an example. When the goal we considered against Switzerland, Nkulu who was struggling to cover up for the left back, that is Nogutolo. Nkulu struggled, and when you watch the videos, he made a sign trying to call back Castelletto, but the reaction time was so slow. Consequently, it therefore means the communication between Nkulu and Castelletto wasn't effective. If it was, Castelletto would have identified that Nkulu is calling for support, and he would have positioned himself more appropriately. Reasons why, when that cross came in, Nkulu had already gone to the left to give support to Nuhutolo, while leaving the center defense empty. Before Castelletto could realize that action, it was already gone. And in football, at this level, we are talking about the World Cup. A single error is a single goal. So I think that the management did not use this FIFA calendar appropriately, but I think that going forward, this is an opportunity for our players to blend.
Mr. Fuh Denis, let's talk about Coach Rigobert Song. You are rating of how he managed the guys. You think he's the man for the job?
Yes.
Okay.
Rigobert Song is the man for the job. But what I would say is that when you are a father to many children and you need them to do you a job, you listen to their opinion, even though they are wrong. At a point when they have finished your job, you can scrutinize them or caution them. So Rigobert Song is a man for the job, but he has to work with the players too. Their opinion have to count. Like when Onana suggested the kind of defense he wants to play with, he was supposed to tell him, either to tell him wait, or he changed it. Because it's he that puts on the shoes that knows where he pinches. So Onana is in the field and he's the one bulleting with the ball, so he was supposed to say what he's seeing physically. So minus the fact that you're an elder to me, I still have the right to tell you what you have to do, which is right. So the case of Onana, I blame him too, because stubbornness is not good. Stubbornness is not good. He was supposed to humble himself, though the action against him too was not good. That's why we say two wrongs cannot make a right. Both of them are wrong. But Song is the man for the job.
He's a man for the job.
Yes.
Why do you say so?
Looking from what he has done so far, drawing the match with Serbia, it's the changes that he made, which means that he saw that the match was not going well. He changed some people and put them. Those are the kind of things we expect from coach. If you see that it's not moving well, you make a good change, you can equalize a goal that you are leading by. Yes, he changed the players and they equalized the goal. So I think he can do the job. Just that some small complication of bigmanism, or let me say whatever is there. But to me, if I have an advice to give him, I'll tell him to calm down and work with the boys.
Okay, he should calm down. Yes, we had this. Was this the first Cameroonian coach taking us to the World Cup? No, Leonard Seke.
Yes.
No, Leonard Seke qualified, but it appears
he didn't take us to the World Cup.
Yes,
he qualified us
yes.
during the
Comparatively, Song and the foreign coaches.
No, Song performed well, better than the foreign coaches. If we go by statistics and we go also by the home-based support, where Song put a lot of home-based support when they were already going to Qatar and when they were in Qatar, in terms of the fact that first, he is a player that had played with the team, and so he understands some of the socio-cultural fight that exists within the Cameroon national team and how to resolve them. And also the fact that it is his first World Cup, and believe that he took over from Conceição after Cameroon had qualified. to go for the World Cup. So there's always strength and weakness. If we do a swap analysis, the strength, the weakness, the threat and the opportunities, you see that some leadership style may not be the best as we see, but I believe that it's always work in progress. There's always room for improvement. If we look at let's start with the strength of Song is that he's always positive. He's someone that likes to get the team to be in a positive mode, because as Mr. Ako said, look at the canons of football. Physique has a great role to play. The spirit, that psychology has a great role to play. And so Song is also working on psychology and the physique. And now, if you look at his management within this team, there have been much of unity as we went to this current World Cup as compared to our last World Cup that we went to, and also as compared to the 2010 debacle that we had. If you look at the unity within the players, this time around, you did not, apart of the Onana saga, you did not get a lot of dispute within the team as you used to get it before when we had the World Cup, where you see this player, there was that clique. This time we don't have much of the clique. Maybe it's not talked about, but there's not much of a clique in terms of that leadership style. The only challenge we had in Song is that since it is his first international World Cup that he's meeting the World Cup, it was kind of very difficult for him to come up with his first 11. As Mr. Ako pointed out, that we missed the opportunity at the beginning of the friendlies, and the reason why he and others advanced why some of these players were not there is because they said some of these players were still at the level of their clubs, and also they were afraid that some of these players may pick up injuries as other players picked up, like Mani picked up injury and other players picked up injury. They were afraid, but I still believe that is the weakness, so he will learn now from it. And now in terms of the opportunities, we have opportunity in that we did not leave the World Cup 0-handed. I believe that people are dissatisfied that Cameroon did not play the 7 matches. Yeah, we had the objective was to play the 7 matches, but even if what you have is an objective, you may not attain the objective based on different conditions, because the thought you have may not be the thought you thought, because what you see may be different from what you already had. Now, the thought we had was to play the 7 matches, but when we went down to the field, we realized that we had made some errors that we cannot correct. Now, but it was corrected somehow towards the last match of Brazil, where you see a new squad that came in, and the new squad that came in actually delivered. When the lineup came, I posted it on our My Media Prime Facebook page. I read a lot of positive comments for the first time as far as Song lineup is concerned, as compared to the previous lineup with Switzerland and Serbia. I posted the one of Switzerland. We had a lot of negative comments, people criticizing Nicolas Nkulu and some other players' positioning, and why is this player not there, why is Abubakar not there. But we posted now the last lineup with Serbia. A lot of comments that this is a lineup, this is what we have been waiting for, and we saw the result. He delivered. So I believe that Song is the right man for the job if he takes to look at some of his weaknesses and correct them. And another weakness with Song was the management of saga within the team. I believe that this Onana saga, as the chairman as the coach of the team, he had the right to tell Onana sit on the bench and don't leave the team till we exit the World Cup. He had that right to say sit on the bench. We saw Totti sat on the bench in one competition. Totti was on the bench. He was a captain, but he sat on the bench because of what? Indiscipline. So you don't leave the team and exit while we still have matches to play. It doesn't give good spirit within the team, and also it helps to divide public opinion and help to create more camps. In a team where we are fighting against camps and clique, you hear this person will tell you he left because these other players spoke to him badly before they preferred these players. No, when he's indisciplined, you put him on the bench, he sits on the bench, and we watch him out. So that was just the weakness we have. But in terms of his other aspect of professionalism, I believe that he needs more time. Look at Aliou Cissé. When he took up Senegal, he had some of these challenges. At one point in time, the Senegalese said, let's remove him. But when he won the AFCON, they celebrated him. He took time to build the team. Despite the fact that they came out yesterday, but we need to give Song that chance. Let him make his mistake. Let him correct them. The good thing is we have an AFCON coming up. So the preparation matches for this AFCON, this is now time for Song to right the wrongs as what he did with the previous friendly matches and correct them, as Veron said.
Okay. Yes,
Leo, I think that I will not want to label much about Onana and Song issue.
Okay.
The World Cup is over. We as Cameroonians, we should learn to reconcile one another.
Mm-hmm.
We should not bother about what actually went wrong. We already know that there was an issue, and we know what has been the impact of the issue. But I think that we should be thinking of the way forward, because we should not leave little issues of such to destroy the beautiful team that we have been struggling to build. We have a team today that we can count on, that this team, we can vouch that this team can win the AFCON for the next AFCON. We can vouch for that. But for you to win, you need a spirit of togetherness.
That's true.
So I believe that the World Cup is over for Cameroon. We should not be thinking whether Onana is disciplined or indisciplined. What we should be thinking of now is to bring the different factions together so that we look ourselves in the mirror, then we now look for the way forward. So in my opinion, that's how I'm going to manage the Onana issues, because as we speak, he is a very fine goalkeeper. Passy is also a very fine goalkeeper. But again, if you, it's like when you go back memory lane, you had Jacques Songo with Bel Joseph Antoine. They were all good goalkeepers.
Yes, at times there was also that conflict with Thomas Kono.
You had Kamani Carlos, Alium Buka. We had Song Nkono with Joseph Antoine Bell. So, but this nation has always been blessed with goalkeepers. But I believe some years ago, the discussion on major platform was about Ondua. But today nobody talks about Ondua. And that's my philosophy about football.
Yeah, but explain to me, almost everybody was talking about Ngadu. But as the matches progressed, we discovered the Eboses, the Wolves, and then nobody's talking about Ngadu.
Thank God, Leo, you invited me in this same platform where we discuss about the Ngando issue. And I said to you that football evolves. Football is about the strategy you put in place. Football doesn't depend on a single individual. It's a team of players. And today, few Cameroonians will talk about Ngando because they have seen the performance of Ebose. They have seen the performance of Wo. Football, you need to keep building talent. You need to have an incubator of talent, so much so that you don't depend on an individual. We brought back Nkulu. We now saw that I think Cameroonians can vouch that they will prefer Ebose probably than Nkulu. You would have still brought in Ngande, but Cameroonians will tell you tomorrow that they want Christophe Wo to play. And that's the beauty about the game. Build a team. Build a team of collective and talented individuals. Don't build particular persons. Now, I can bet you, if Cameroonians, you need to do a vox pop, few Cameroonians will be bothered about Ngande, and that's the issue because football evolves. A player can leave a team for different reasons. 1, indiscipline. 2, age. 3, injury. So if a player is injured, what you should be thinking, or if a player is not present, we should be talking about the alternative. We should have an incubator of players where, look at the guy who gave the fine assist to Abubakar. He plays for Colombe. He's a local-based player. We should develop our football so that our football should not be stifled by some individuals. We should develop our talent so that we should have a vast number of players, so much so that when A is not, we can go in for B. I want to appreciate once more the performance of Ebose. Once more, I want to appreciate the performance of Wo, and to tell Cameroonians we need to move forward in one spirit. The World Cup is over. What we should be thinking of is to build these players. There should be cohesion among the players. There should be one spirit among the players, and let management proceed and adopt a proper strategy so that in the tournament, in the AFCON in Ivory Coast, we should be thinking of winning the cup.
Dear Mr. Leo and the panelists, I fully agree that Song has tried his best. I strongly feel the word foreign coaches should not be used. We should not forget that some great coaches we had were foreign coaches, as we said. I will never forget Claude Leroy. I hope I have spelled the name correctly. We should also not forget the team is not managed by Song alone, but by ex-players. Okay, thank you. Kwan Jacob is writing from Kumbu. Mr. Lawrence, when you look at the team that represented Cameroon out there, what would you say was lacking in them?
Well, everything was lacking. I mean, we have a problem of game cohesion. We have a problem of having a fixed starting 11. We had a problem of age management. How do you manage the old players and the youngsters coming in? I think we equally had a problem of tactical football management, because for most African countries, they don't pass the first round of the competition because of that. We are unable to handle games. We have goal scoring chances, we create them, we are good in games, and at the end of the day, we always lose the game, but we'll say, okay, we're good, but it doesn't suffice to be good. We need to know how to play tactical football. I mean, when you look at the goals Senegal conceded against France, and you look at the goals Cameroon conceded against Switzerland, it's practically a photocopy. It shows you that we have a big problem of tactical play, even though our players are playing in so-called European teams. When they come together as a team, we have a big problem of tactics on the pitch of play, and we should not equally forget that our players are not the first-class players of top sides in Europe. Take away Choupo-Moting and Andre Onana, the rest are secondary or tertiary players in their various clubs, so we weren't expecting miracles. It would have been even a miracle to move right up to the quarterfinals of this competition, because we don't have the talents we used to have in 2000, 2002. Our players are secondary players in their clubs, and look at where they play. Look at their market value. I mean, we just had our true value out, and I think even having 4 points for me, it's a good result when you look at the group, you look at the players individually, and what they could produce collectively. We are not a team that has a game organizer. We lacked a game organizer who could organize play. Zambo Anguissa was really below average. I mean, he even caused some of the goals. We could even go as far as saying that. Karl Toko Ekambi, who wasn't playing anymore at his club in Lyon, was really a shadow of himself. So finally, the attack line rested on Choupo-Moting, who absolutely wanted to score against Switzerland, whereas if we could know how to do passes at key points, taking key decisions, making the right pass at the right time, would have been far off. I mean, so many small ingredients lacked this team to move forth in the knockout stages, and I'm really saying it with much regret, because I'm a man who loves figures, and when I look at the figures, the financial bonuses of this World Cup, I tell you, we just have our eyes to cry. Just qualifying for the World Cup, we already had 1.4 million euros. As we ended up at the group stage, we are expecting to receive from FIFA 8.7 million euros. But do you know that if we qualified for the round of 16, we would have been expecting 12.6 million euros? And why not the quarterfinals to earn 16 million euros, or ending up fourth to earn 24 million euros? Why not third, earning 26 million euros, being a finalist, earning 29 million euros, or winning the World Cup and going home with 40 million euros? I mean, playing the World Cup can generate enough money that would sustain the local championship. So I think we have to take this thing very serious. And when we are going to the World Cup, we have to prepare tactically well. And I think it's something that takes 4 years preparation, not just 1 week or 2 weeks, as we saw with the Indomitable Lions. We have to work on a long-term basis, because there is much money to take there, much money to collect, that could really bring oxygen into the local football championships. It's really rather unfortunate that we really failed on all these small details.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence. We hear Wancha Cynthia is on standby from Qatar. She has been living the events alive. Good evening, Cynthia. We are glad to have you.
Good evening, Leo. Good evening to the other guests who found time to be in the studio. And good evening to a senior colleague, a senior brother I so much admire and follow passionately. Good evening to you, Lauren. Thank you very much, Leo, for having me. I really want to apologize for joining you very late.
What are you using? A phone?
Yes.
Can you just put it on auto rotate so that we have you on a landscape format?
Okay.
Yes. So that you, if that is done, let's see. Exceptionally, I will take one call if you are watching the program and you want to contribute on today's edition of the program. Please just call the number and I will give you the opportunity to participate in today's edition of the program. While she fixes that, now, Mr. Dennis, we are talking about what was lacking in the team, but what was also the strength of the team, Mr. Dennis?
The strength of the team of Cameroon was, they should call the name directly, I would say Abubakar.
Okay.
And this six shirt, that young man plays a lot of ball, plays well. I don't know his name. Gamale. You know, it's not Gamale. He had number 6 on his back. But the strength of this team was Abubakar.
Okay.
Though he was forgotten, that's why I say the management is lacking to understand who is supposed to play and who not to play. Because some of the people who killed this team, to me, is how do we call it? Anguissa. Anguissa killed this team. Anguissa is the cause of our loss, and the redeemer is Abubakar. So the strength of the team is Abubakar. Before we go to say, we look on that young man who was brought in, but when Abubakar is doing something good at the head, Ntolo did something extremely good too. So those two men, I appreciate them.
Okay.
Yes.
Abubakar and Nuhu. Now, if Cynthia is ready, Cynthia, can we continue our conversation, please?
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's good. It's good. Yes, Cynthia, you are in Qatar. You have seen and lived with the Lions. Can you share with us what you saw and heard from the den of the Lions, and also tell us the reason for the wild celebration we saw out there after the Lions' victory over the Brazilian national team?
Thank you very much, Leonard. But it will be important to state that I really didn't get here on the basis of as a journalist. I rather came in as a supporter. I missed out on the window for accreditation. And just like other supporters, I really had an opportunity to come very close to the team on Friday when they had to take on Brazil. And to tell you the truth, I walked into a stadium, Luzai, 85,000 spectators, and I'm not very sure that the Cameroonians who were in that field were even up to 5,000. We were all just swallowed up in the Brazilian crowd, the supporters, and even foreigners. You know, most of those I saw with Brazilian T-shirts were even more of Indians who came up powerfully to support Brazil. Well, I think everything that we've heard so far about what is happening around the team is just like we've had on the media. the communication from Fekafood, as well as the tweet we've had from Onana. So you really can draw I really can draw a line of state clearly what could have been the problem. But my simple understanding is just that it had to do with indiscipline. And I followed the discussion in the studio very, very keenly when we think if some is the right coach or some is not the right coach. As a coach, I want to think that this is some of the risks that you must be willing to take. We all understand that Onana is goalkeeper number one, but if a player is indisciplined and you have to set the player straight, you definitely will want to overlook certain things. And of course, Eliona, you're asking why the wide jubilation of that victory. Everybody understands that Brazil, according to FIFA ranking, it's a world football giant. I mean, they are classified first. They're the best football nation according to FIFA World Ranking. And so, if you have to move, if you have to retire to play like a team like Brazil, looking at a performance during the first game against Switzerland and the second against Serbia, you understand that victory. I mean, there are just too many people who were taken by surprise. Yes, we did not go to Qatar to win Brazil. We came to Qatar to take the cup. You have the author of that thing who's there with you in the studio. But walking away with 4 points, if you want to go back memory lane, when last did Cameroon get to this point? When last did we even walk away from the World Cup with a single point? If we're able to leave the World Cup with 4 points, Lawrence has highlighted a couple of issues that were wrong. I just think that if we give the coach some more time, with the lessons that have been drawn from their participation at this stage of the World Cup, I can bet you that before the African Nations Cup 2023, we're going to have a wonderful team. We just need to work on some of those weaknesses that we discovered with the team at the level of the World Cup. And yes, it's true, like Lawrence rightly indicated, there were players who performed below average. For me personally, I'm very keen with players like Zambo and Gisa. Yes, it's true. He explained that you can't compare his play with the club and play with the team. They are completely two different things, made up of different players, made up of different playing tactics and all of that. But that game, I think he gave it a try. He did his best, if I can put it that way, alongside we couldn't them along, and we're able to get what we had at the end of that game.
Were in the stadium and you were celebrating, while not only you, all the Cameroonians. What was the reaction of other nationals? I'm talking about foreigners who saw you people celebrating a win when you knew that you were not going through to the second round. How did they understand with you people?
Let me share my experience. If you can tell from the fact that I haven't recovered fully. My voice is terrible. I haven't recovered fully from the shout, the way I screamed in the field. Let me tell you a personal experience. When I got into the stadium, it was about 15 minutes to kick-off time. And when I saw my seat, there were 3 of us who were Cameroonians. That row was made up of close to 200 to 250 seats or so, and even more. And just 3 of us were Cameroonians, and we're seated on the second row. So each time you even wanted to shout, you're overshadowed by the noise.
Okay, Wacha, thank you. We'll be coming back to you, Wacha Cynthia. Yes, yeah, she is giving first-hand information what they lived in the stadium and out of the stadium, how they were appreciated. Your statement, we will take that cup.
Okay.
Are we taking the cup?
Yes. We came back with 2 cups.
Okay.
One for Epasi, one for Abubakar. Yes. So we won the cup. Most importantly, Brazil was down. Though he qualified, but we put him down. We humbled Brazil. So we took the cup. We took the cup.
Okay.
Yes. Like, as I will tell people, the way they will ask me too many questions, them. You say, we'll go take cup, they be no, I tell them, say, we'll go Brazil now for go take cup. We no go Brazil for go to win match. We are Qatar. We go Qatar now for go take a cup. We no go Qatar for go to win match. And we come back with 2 cups. Now we go Côte d'Ivoire now, go take the other one, bring them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you consulting with the spirits, or you just it's out
I
of faith?
went to the mountain and met with a Pasamoto. A Pasamoto told me to go and we beat Brazil. Yes.
Okay. You went to the Cameroon, Mount Fako?
Mount Fako, Mount Cameroon. I went there. If you see on that video, you can see me struggling to climb that mountain. I was struggling. I went right at hot 1 or 2. Then I got to the summit. I spoke with a Pasamoto. I say, I want you to give me a winning over Brazil and they should beat Switzerland. So I took the winning for Brazil, but Switzerland, I don't know, maybe the request was too much. Maybe I was asking for too much, so they could not give it all to me. They gave me some and kept some.
Now, some persons wanted, were mobilizing for you to go to Qatar. Why did it not work out?
Some were mobilizing that I should go to Qatar, and others came up with a brilliant idea. Why should we be struggling to send Fuh Denis Zang to Qatar when he barely can feed himself? So, like Alain Menget, he put on a platform that anybody that has anything should drop in there. Some people dropped, or I was having up to about 280,000 francs as dash from people. So, I think I used to do some small business. Now we increase it, the little that I've gotten from his idea. Because still, if I had gone to Qatar like they don't, because some of them say no, instead of giving them money, they prefer that I should come to Qatar. That I'll have more than Qatar, but I was not seeing it that way. His idea of raising funds for me was good. Yes.
Okay, everybody is talking about go take that cup, we'll go take that cup. Many persons are seeing it on social media, but you are here live. And if anybody think that they want to appreciate Fuh Denis Zang, who is a fervent supporter of the Indomitable Lions, you've been following the Lions for how long now?
If I give time, it means that I'm lying from birth.
Okay.
Yes. I hate to see somebody criticizing the Lions. No matter the chaos, I am with the Lions. I like my boys. I like the team. No matter how they play, I still support them. I watch from the first match that you win the Lions, you win the same for the second match. The last match that I know they are going home, I will still watch that match and enjoy it. That's who I am for the Lions.
Okay.
Yes.
And you are already mobilizing for the Nations Cup?
Yes. We are going to take the Nations Cup. It is very clear. My target here is to see how I can advise my humble coach, Song Bahana, Ringobert Song Bahana, to look the team that lastly played Brazil. Anybody that is not called on the day of any practice, the person should be sanctioned. That team is supposed to be the real team. We are building that team. We want to carry that team from scratch right up to the level where we will have them like Etofis and Boma Patrick in the year 2002. This is the team. We have already had the team. Now is to give it a solid foundation. Yes. So if you are called for training or qualification and you don't show up, you have a sanction from these boys. Because we are going to Côte d'Ivoire this time around. I said we'll go take that cup, they will take Sen and play. We'll go take the cup for Côte d'Ivoire and we'll count them.
For Cameroon?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll carry that cup can Cameroon.
Yes, Mr. Ako, should that now be the objective? Because I read on social media, many persons are now saying that they should open up an investigation to understand why we failed this very early stage. Do we understand that before going we're already fighting? Now we are out, we are still fighting. Should focus not be on the Côte d'Ivoire venture?
Was there an investigation in 2018 when we did not even qualify for Russia? Was there an investigation? Was there an investigation in 2006 when we did not qualify in Yaoundé against the Algerians? No, Leo, we need to remain focused. I think that the dynamics of football doesn't warrant distractions. We think that as we currently speak, we have already identified a good number of players that we can perform well in Côte d'Ivoire 2023. We think we have a very good crop of players in terms of their performance. Look at what Brian Mbeumo is doing in his club and as well as in the national team. This is a gentleman that we never knew some years ago. We think that there are other Cameroonians there that will be motivated based on the performance of the Lions. Now they want to join the Lions then, so that they should also be part and parcel of the story that they are going to write. I think the administration of the Federation only needs to create an enabling environment, so much so that we perform and the boys are motivated and encouraged to come and play. The issue about carrying on investigation, what is the purpose of all the investigation? Do they want to jail someone? Do you want to jail a player? A player doesn't come for him to be jailed. We are not here in the years of Robert Gay in Côte d'Ivoire, where Ibrahima Bakayoko and the others were taken to the military camp when they had a dismal performance during the AFCON. No, we are not. We are a different nation. We think that Cameroon, what we should be thinking of is what's the way forward for the players. How do we need to, those players, we need to give them some psychological fitness. We need to give them the right advice. We need to encourage them to improve in their performances at their club level, so that they should be first choice players. Because if they play consistently in their clubs, we will have the pitfall, we're going to feel it at the level of the Lions. So that is what we should be focused as we currently speak. We are out of the tournament. It's not an opportunity for pointing of fingers. It's not an opportunity for people to be throwing stones to one another. I know there are school of thoughts who will be saying that Rigobert's song should be shown the door. I know there are some school of thoughts who will be talking about negative issues about Samuel Eto'o because they have been waiting for opportunities of such. We know all those things, but at the end of the day, Mr. Leo, when you wear the green, red, yellow, it doesn't belong to Samuel Eto'o. Neither does it belong to Rigobert's song. It belongs to a nation. It's a national emblem. Reasons why even when we do sports analysis, we talk because we represent the nation. So we shouldn't be so stereotypic thinking that it's about Eto'o. No, the nation first, and we talk about nation building. So we have more and more important events coming up. We have to represent this nation in a very in a more professional manner in Côte d'Ivoire. We need to remain the best. Remember, Leo, the victory against Brazil has changed the mindset of so many nations about who Cameroon is. It has brought us back to the image we had in the 1990s, even though we didn't go to the next phase of the tournament. That's the positive issue that we can write home about the victory against Brazil. We have now become so fearsome in the eyes of our opponents and other nations. We only need to capitalize on that now. Because when you start bringing issues about investigation, you are killing the beauty and already the enthusiasm in the team. We don't want that. For the first time, Leo, during the World Cup, I saw the minister and Samuel Eto'o walk hand to hand. And that's what we want to see going forward.
We did not hear this noise about Prim de March, all those things.
For the first time, the Lions went for a tournament. We didn't hear issues of match bonuses. We saw a cohesive team in terms of team management. And that's the spirit we need to build up. Because remember, Leo, what pains me, which a lot of Cameroonians or people don't see, is foreign media, they like to use the negative issues about the Lions to castigate us. This is an opportunity for the foreign media to also write the beauty about the goals scored by Vincent Aboubakar. It's an opportunity for the foreign media to write about the performance of a Passy. It's an opportunity for the foreign media to write the fact that we left as heroes We were not humiliated in a tournament. These are the kind of messages we think that should be written about Cameroon, because we have better challenges ahead. The investigation that they are seeking for, what is the raison d'etre for the investigation? Has money been siphoned? Question mark. Those things are going to be dealt closed doors by the Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance is there to assess the amount of money that was disbursed for the Lions, how much has been spent in terms of the budget that was allocated for the Lions. And maybe a report will be also issued by the Federation on the usage of funds during the tournament. I think that's how we need to look at things on a professional manner. We should stop castigating individuals. We should stop bringing down people. We should think about nation building. Now we are limping, but we need to wake up.
Okay, we need to.
And Côte d'Ivoire 2023 is a wake-up call.
Good evening to you all in the studio. First of all, I don't like what Song did with the lineup from the beginning. If he had arranged the lineup well, and the key player, which is Abubakar, if he had been on the field from the beginning and not after the first half, then things would have even changed. But I don't understand why Onana was not even on the field because of small misunderstanding. They could not wait for the tournament to get finished first. Thank you. Carl Weiss, writing from Pomenda. We are looking to the future, but we already know that there are persons who would not want to see President Samuel Eto'o succeed. There are others who are anti-Song and a host of others. How do we kill these camps that have been constructed around our national team so that energies are brought together, synergized for Cameroon to go get the Nations Cup in Côte d'Ivoire, like Denis is saying?
You know that the focus, first of all, should be on appreciation. We should appreciate our exit in this World Cup. Remember, as I did mention, the fact that the goal was to play 7 matches, but the fact that we did not play 7 matches, there's what you call an objective, and there's what you also call a mission. So if you do not achieve the objective, it's because of some set values. The question now is, how do we kill this same much camp? It's but one goal. That's, let's look at the nation as, let's look at the team as the nation, not as individual. Because if you look at the team as a nation, I believe that you rally behind the players that will play. A lot of people are saying that why did this Song not use this lineup now? Why did he use this other lineup? The lineup that he used for Brazil, why did he not use it? I want to say that it's a learning process, and nobody's so perfect. Even in our own individual endeavor, we are not so perfect. To align, we must make mistakes from the beginning. If you look at the journalist, from the first time a journalist starts working, he or she must make a bit of mistakes before adapting. If you look at the first time starter, Veron Ubemi, look at the first time starter as a player, you must make a couple of mistakes before you get to who you are today. So these mistakes Song must make, because if you look at Song portfolio as a coach of the Indomitable Lion, you ask yourself how many matches has he played, and also you ask yourself how many players has he called, and you now, based on the matches he has played, compare with the other coaches that have come to coach the national team, the matches they have played. So Song has just played few matches, so he's making a bit of mistake. We should give him time to adapt to the team, and we should also look at Samuel Eto'o's effort, not on the aspect of individual basis. You know, the problem we have in Cameroon and why we still have that problem in national team is because of tribalism. A lot of issues about tribalism these days in Cameroon, where you see somebody stop you on the way, or you are discussing with somebody, and the person will ask you, what is your name? And you say, my name is Javis. The person will say the other name, and you say, my name is Tah. The person will say, Tah, from which village? When you say from where village, he asking from which village, not to know your village, but to know how he start dealing with you. And that's the problem we have with our national team. And that's the problem we have with some people looking at Song and Eto'o, thinking that the players that are being caught are caught based on their tribal or their family basis, which is not true. Because if we look at this perspective, we miss it. Let us keep away this tribal basis, this nepotic basis, this corruption basis, and focus now on the team. If you look at, this is the first World Cup within this new generation, from 2000 right up to where we are today, where you don't have much of scandal. that Cameroon is going to the World Cup. You don't have much of scandal. You don't have much of prim the match as you always have. You don't have players threatening to go on strike. If their bonuses are not given, you don't have it. So that's just to tell you that there's a lot of work which is ongoing. And this work which is ongoing cannot be so perfect to everybody. You must bend some lines. You must make some shade. If you look at the effort Eto'o has done within the local league, look at the Ballon d'Or experience of Cameroon. So it tells you that they are putting Cameroon on a spectrum where many Cameroonians need to see, okay, let's give them a trial. To unite them behind Samuel Eto'o, we should focus on Ivory Coast. The thing is, we have young players. Mr. Ako said one thing, that the performance of Brazil and Cameroon's performance in the World Cup will give a lot of Cameroonians who want to or may want to play for other nations or other nations to come back and play with Cameroon. We are happy that we have we have Bremu who is playing with us, and so we are happy that we have created a benchmark. Also, what Cynthia said, when they left the team, when they left the match, you see when they're walking on the street, you see people recognize that they are Cameroonian with the flag. You want to come and touch the flag. You want to snap picture to say you guys did a very good job. That should tell you that the squad and the song leadership and Eto'o this time around, as Mboma Patrick, actually gave a booster. It may not be so perfect to everybody. I think it's work in progress. Let's give it a try. And I can tell you for sure that Cote d'Ivoire 2023 is a sure thing. We don't really take the cup.
Very, very sure. Don't take the cup.
Okay, we don't take the cup. Mr. Leo, good evening to you all at the studio. Tell Mr. Denis, say we don't take that cup because we don't broke that curse by scoring Brazil. Yes. The boys and their hierarchy did so well. Kate is writing from Douala. Good evening to you. Kate, watching us from Douala, the nation's economic capital. Now, Mr. Lawrence, I want us to look at what some persons term the omnipresence of Fecafoot's president Samuel Eto'o around what is happening in Qatar. Do you see it as overbearing, or it needs to take off some distance from what is happening within the den of the lions?
Well, he's called Samuel Eto'o, former player, and when you look at the number of trophies achieved on the pitch, it would be very difficult to keep him away from the team. He will always have a word, an advice. He will always have a look at the choice of players because he has that experience, and he said it earlier that he lost World Cups because he knew the division between the players, and he knows what it takes to win a competition. That's why he was making them dream big. So I think his omnipresence is the fact that he loves football, and he has been a former player, and the dream is great. He dreams big. He dreams of winning the World Cup. And I think sometimes you have to dream of winning the World Cup, then end up maybe playing the quarter or semi-finals. His omnipresence is true, and it has been said everywhere. He's even at the training with the players. But I think at one point he should equally try to make a difference between being president of the federation and being, his presence is just like a club president. He's just in the national team like a club president, in the resting room, talking to players every hour, every second. Sometimes it can be disturbing because you are the president of the FA, and Fecafoot is not limited to the senior indomitable Lions. We have the local championship to run. We have the amateur league. We have the women league. I mean, there is much more to do than just grim yourself around the senior national team. But what can you do? It is Samuel Eto'o, lover of football, lover of Cameroon, and you will just have to bear with him for the rest of his mandate. He will always be present, and he will always have a word, something to say concerning the team, concerning the management and the choice of players. You cannot take that away from him. I mean, he has been doing it long ago. When he brought in Seedorf and Kluivert, he said it himself. He brought in Seydou Mbonjoya. So what would you say that he's far from the team? He has always been in the team. So being president of the federation is just natural that he continues what he has been doing for years. I would like to come back, if you permit me, we were talking a while ago about fans in the stadium, Cynthia giving us her experience. I've been talking to other journalists who were present there, and they were saying at the World Cup, there is a competition equally for fans. I mean, you really have to come in, organize, and I think Cameroon was one of the most disorganized squads in terms of fan base. Gando Piquet finding himself behind one pole, Gabriel Nanji finding himself at the other side of the pole. Cameroonians spotted all around the stadium, but never packed. We didn't see the influence of the green color packed on one side. So I think we should organize better, and even the choice of the so-called influencers. I don't know what they really influence, but sometimes it's good to go with true fans, because it was the first time some of these influencers or some of these fans were entering into a football stadium. I don't know the criteria they used to select players, but I mean, bringing people into a football stadium for the first time at the World Cup is really problematic, and we didn't train or we didn't rehearse some popular songs. I mean, even taking these university fan clubs would have really been better. So I will just use your forum to talk to the federation and plead out loud that next time, as we are talking of the upcoming competitions, we should organize the fan base, have a solid fan base before moving out for international competition. We're talking of the future. The future is not Cote d'Ivoire. The future is the CHAN in Nigeria coming up next month, January, because from the CHAN in Nigeria, we can depict or we can bring out some players who can equally play at the upcoming Nations Cup. So let us first focus on the CHAN in Nigeria. I remember in 2016 in the CHAN in Rwanda, I was present in Rwanda with some of these players, and when you look at Umgwe today, Mupingamale, they were all present in the 2016 CHAN in Rwanda. So let us focus on the CHAN in Nigeria in January, and from the CHAN we might have some key players who could equally influence our performance at the African Nations Cup from Cote d'Ivoire, January 2024. So it's a logical progression, and we have to go step by step.
Okay, Mr. Lawrence, thank you. But one word, I still want you to say a word about the organization of our participation from the prism of the national team. Were you satisfied? Away from the field, the way things were organized, our departure from here, our stay in Qatar, and our return.
Well, I think for the national team, there were no worries concerning the team itself. They got their players were leaving their clubs in Europe directly. It was really on short notice. I mean, when you look at the FIFA window, the time lapse between clubs ending their championships in Europe and joining the various national teams. So we were all in the same pot of soup. It wasn't a Cameroonian affair, but most of the players were leaving their clubs in Europe directly to meet the team. That's why we had to really work earlier and really have a solid championship so that you can count on some of these players. I mean, this World Cup has given us a lesson which is built from the grassroots, because we would have left Cameroon with 10 local players, and with a few professionals joining up, we wouldn't have had the problems we had in Qatar.
Okay, thank you very much. One chair, Cynthia. I'll get back to you. Mr. Lawrence just raised the issue of representation as far as the fan base is concerned. We also know that many persons raised worries as to those who were representing Cameroon as influencers. You have been there. What has been the situation? How aptly have they represented or sold the Cameroon brand?
I think it's a very important point that was raised by Lawrence. First, it was an observation I equally had during that game on Friday, and watching Senegal's game yesterday. The fan club of Senegal, if you want to do a comparison to what we had in Cameroon, is far more organized. from more findings, I was even told that they're actually not even based here. They fly them in from the country when the team is to play a game or so. I can ascertain the veracity of that. But you can practically feel their presence on the pitch. And truth be told, on that Friday, we were just scattered all over. You just had a small place where you could see some of the supporters who were there. I don't know. I really can't tell what criteria was used to select this particular supporters. And like Lawrence raised it earlier on, there are many of them who, you can only find them now when the World Cup is ongoing. You can only find them talking about these players now because everyone is talking about these players now. After the World Cup, all of them, everyone is back to their businesses. And there were even artists. There were actually artists who traveled alongside with the influencers, and much of what I've seen them do is on TikTok. That's where I've seen a good number of them selling the image of Cameroon, selling the image of the Indomitable Alliance. Yes, TikTok is kind of a space that has gained grounds with the new media, and that's where I see much of them very, very active. But I've followed them very keenly on TikTok, and I've seen them trying to sell the country, sell Cameroon. I've seen them sell the different players. But I really think, just like Lawrence, I think that more can be done. We can do a proper organization, and I can bet you that if, for example, a fan club from the university, say Yaoundé, or even the one in Bamenda. I've watched the one in Bamenda very closely, and they do pretty well. And I feel that they would have created an impact that we would have felt it more. And just very quickly, Mr. Leo, before you move on to the next thing, I'm equally very much in support of this idea of us having to depend more on our local players. Take, for example, 26 players or so taken to the World Cup, and just 2 of them were from the local league. And you had these players who just came in from their club in Europe and had very little time to play together. That too contributed to the performance of the team. But if we can continue building these talents from our local league, why not have 10, 15 of them? 10, 15 of them from the local league, and then you bring in most of the 10, maybe 10 from the international club. At least there's some balance. When Bomb came on board, it was just something that kept playing on my mind. You remember the friendly game they played in Yaoundé against Panama, Jamaica. Yes, it's the friendly game against.
Go on.
All right. Yes, you. There were lots of. We have talent. If you follow our local league very closely, we have very, very good. We have good players that we need within that team. Who would have even thought for once that Bomb would have been the source of us having 3 points or having that edge over Brazil. So this is another lesson that we're taking away from the World Cup, that we need to groom and count a lot on our local players or our local team.
Thank you very much. I want us to look at these guys. We know that Embolo is a Cameroonian who plays for Switzerland. Kylian Mbappé is a Cameroonian who plays for France. Chouameni and a host of others. I think either 8 or 9 Cameroonians.
Yeah, you have Onana who plays for Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we have Cameroonians everywhere.
Is this also a wake-up call for the guys managing our football to start scouting as early as possible? Because when you look at the Senegalese team, most of them have dual nationality.
Yes, Leo, I'm going to surprise you a little.
Okay, you will not go. You don't want us to go down the route.
Yeah, because what we need to do is to get the management of our federation should be in the right position.
Okay.
We need to ensure that we develop our local football. We need to ensure that we are putting the right resources, and we need to ensure that we are paying our local players and developing our local league appropriately. We need to have the right people at the federation. If all those are put in place, I think that you don't even need to go and search for those foreign players. They themselves will come. A lot of those foreign players don't want to come because your league, Cameroon, is not being looked at the international level with a lot of beauty. You discover that the federation for the past 12 years has been infighting. We have always been at the level of the Court of Arbitration for Sports in Lausanne, in Switzerland. So we have always been known that the federation is infighting. And definitely some of those players who were born probably abroad will definitely not want to come and maybe stain their image with a federation which is always having infighting. You don't want to have it because you don't want to have a scenario where administrators handpick players to play a game in the place of the coach. We need to give the coach the capacity and the authority. He should have the sole responsibility of making the list and fielding in the players. When those foreign players start getting stories of maybe players being handpicked by administrators or in order to play the game, it discourages them a lot. So we need to create an enabling environment that will attract foreign players. You cannot be walking from one nation to the other struggling to convince players. It doesn't work. You are doing the wrong strategy. The right strategy is develop football at home, create an enabling environment, ensure that the federation is working appropriately, performance is judged in the right way, and players are put to play based on their output. When you establish those, Mr. Liu, players will definitely rush to play for the national team. There is a Tah Mai played for Cameroon. All those players want to play, but what is the climate that you have established to encourage them to play? So I think that that is over for Cameroon for the World Cup. We need to come back, see that our local players are being given the right salaries. Players should not be injured and stay in the hospital, and the club presidents are unable to cater for the injuries. You go to pitches, players are injured, you don't have first aid. First aid, especially in the second tier division, you don't have first aid. I watch a lot of games in Cameroon, be it at the first division, second division, or the third division. I watch a lot of games. You don't have, so we need the necessary equipments to be present during a game. When you watch games in Boya, if Talented FC is playing against Bamongo FC, for example, you will not find an ambulance, for example, Leo. But what if a player gets injured? You don't know how many players do cardiac tests before, even at the level of the elite one. We need to get into all those, we need to develop all those sectors of the game. It's part of football. You need to develop those things. And when all those are developed, Mr. Liu, I can tell you, in the years where the George Weahs wanted to play for Cameroon, in those years where Kofi Abre and the others wanted to play for Cameroon, in the years where Javret Endoram, who played for Chad, wanted to play for Cameroon, we will still have years where other Cameroonians will enjoy playing for their nation, and even other nationals will enjoy to play for Cameroon. Let us work together as one man and create an enabling environment for our federation and for our league, so that we will be proud of Cameroon.
Okay. Good evening to you all over there. Personally, I'm so proud and happy for the Lions and Samuel Eto'o for his hard work. The Lions did so very. They did it big time, and I'm not a football fan, but each time my country Cameroon is playing, I don't joke. And again, we don't really take that cup. Papa Eto'o, please keep up, no change, no matter the talks, continue doing what is right and just. Esum Gladys is writing from Manfi Town. Cameroon's purpose was to win Brazil. We don't take We don't care about the cup. We are proud of our Lions. Alida is writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you, Alida. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Shalom to your panel. Please, those who are saying Song has done this and that, why didn't they put this team that won Brazil? What would they have said if this team was won by Brazil? Let Cameroon allow this administration in peace. Sorry, Franklin is writing from Kumba. Good evening to you, Franklin. Good evening. This is Abdullahi Chiamba writing from the Northwest region, Fundong Boyo Division, precisely. Cameroon has done more than my expectations. In fact, congratulations to the Lions. Okay. Good evening to everybody watching the program. We are glad and proud of the Lions. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu Fonyi Oliver, writing from Yaoundé. I really appreciate the Lions for their performance in the World Cup, and what I never really appreciate was putting the flag bearer Vincent Abubakar on the bench with all the blessings he came with from Cameroon. Normally, he had to start the first match. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to you in the studio. I'm very disappointed with Cameroon's exits. As a coach, if you are not experienced enough, give room to someone that's more experienced. Making mistakes in the World Cup is not forgivable since it comes once in 4 years. I pray that he and the boys should capitalize on their mistakes and build a solid team. There is a lot of games to play for this. Okay, this is Yannick writing from Great Support. That's in Boya. Mr. Lawrence, you are reading the reaction of Cameroonians. Generally, they are positive, appreciative. Are they naive? Mr. Lawrence, seemingly you are no longer there. Fuh Denis, do you understand this? Okay, yes, Mr. Lawrence is there. Are Cameroonians naive to be celebrating the performance of these Lions?
They are not naive. I mean, they are relieved.
Okay.
Because, you know, the last time we won a game, I think, was in the 2002 World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, when we beat Saudi Arabia 1-0, and that's more than 2 decades ago. So they have Cameroonians who were born, who grew up, who love football, but have never seen their team win a game at the World Cup. So you understand the joy, especially from the youthful generation. So it's just what we wanted to see. Sometimes it's not all about winning, but it's all about the spirit with which you fight for it. I think in the first game against Switzerland, the Lions didn't show really that fighting spirit that we were expecting. It's later on against Serbia and against Brazil that we really saw them coming up strong. But I think we should be more ambitious than that because we have the resources. I tell you, if you look at the local championship, if we have a better organization, if we have a football policy, if we have better planning, we will not have the ambition of going to the World Cup and win one game against Brazil and be happy coming back home. Just like Oliver Twist, I really want more because I believe we can do it. I mean, we have been in the World Cup since 1982. We are not a small nation, so we should have the ambition of going there and winning games, going to the next phase of the competition. And I think a better performance at the World Cup gives oxygen to the local championship and generates a new generation. It brings up a new generation of players and gives resources to the federations. I gave you a while ago the financial bonuses as you move forth into the competition. So for me, I understand the joy of Cameroonians, but I remain unsatisfied with our performance. I really wanted more because I know we have the resources, human, financial, material, to do more than a group stage at the World Cup.
What These Cameroonians who are playing for other nations, are you also not regretting the fact that these guys...
Well, no, I don't regret them. You should look at them. They are different. A player like Yusuf Mukoko that plays with Germany, Mbolo who plays with Switzerland. These are players who were born in Cameroon. I mean, they know them at the city neighborhood in Yaoundé where they were playing local football when they were kids. So these are players who would regret. But I think players like Chouameni and Mbappe who play for France, they are born in France. They have the French mentality. They grew up there as French. So even if you bring them here, they will not have that fighting spirit. So for me, it's natural that they play with the French team because they only know that's the only place they know. It's their environment, so you cannot force them out here. It's a call, as Cynthia said earlier, it's a call that we have to groom up our players. The only moment we had good performance with the national team in 1982 and in 1990, I think practically almost 50% of the team was composed of local-based players. It's really something we have to reflect on. We can make a better local league and have a good blend of the local players. Those leaving the country should leave with a better know-how of football so that we can dream to have the 2000 generation of Eto'o, Njitab, Omas, and all the players who hailed from Cameroon to go and play professional.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. No, we're talking about, Mr. Lawrence talks about that we should start thinking about CHAN and then the Nations Cup in Cote d'Ivoire. Cynthia and Mr. Lawrence raised an issue about those who are going to support the team. We're talking about the influencers and the supporters. We saw how the Senegalese come out when their team is playing. Should you not also start building a fan club for the Lions and looking at how we can get the University of Boya, University of Bomenda, University of Chang, University of Douala, and all of these guys come up with something that can aptly not only cheer the Lions to victory when they need it?
I will.
Okay.
I'll be taking from here to start building a fan club that will be cheering up the Lions. So, like they talk of the university, I'm in Boya. We'll have to, maybe the fan club there, maybe it is somehow lukewarm. Since I have the might to hail it, I'll join them. I'll create my own fan club, then I'll still join the university in Boya to hail the Lions.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, so a lot needs to be done. But you are supporting the Lions. They're supposed to start from the base, the local league in the southwest region. Isn't this also a time for the sports lovers of the southwest region, Anglophones, to see how they can rally behind what you are doing? Because you're supporting the Lions just because you love football. But should people not also invest around you so that together you drive the football spirit in the southwest region?
Yes, I am a fan to Opopo.
Okay.
Yes, so President Bob Didi, who owns Opopo, I know him personally. Talking of the fans in Southwest who are supporting football, the lady who came from Limbe is in Qatar now. The other guy who dresses like a lady, put breast and then hair, he's also there in Limbe. He didn't go to Qatar because he never had documents at that time. So those are the type of people I think I can meet and we join together to form a strong, sustainable fan club that can hail the Lions anywhere we are going. So what Mr. Lawrence is saying there, it really has taught me a lot. So I will start from there to look forward on building a very good fan club for the Lions.
Okay. And if you're watching the program, you think that you want to talk and reach out to him. I'm talking about Fuh Denis Zang. Get to me, and I will get through to him. But you can also read out your number for those who may want to talk to you directly.
Okay. Those who want to talk to me directly, my number is 681 38 8025. 681 38 8025. That's my number. WhatsApp and direct calls.
Okay. So if you want to talk to Fuh Denis Zang, the author of We Don't Take, or We Go Take That Cup.
We Take the Cup.
We Go Take the Cup is here. You can talk with him. We're talking about organizing also out of the dress room. We're talking away from the Lions. It's something that needs to be constructed, in which we are lacking, going by what Cynthia is saying, because she is in Qatar.
Yes, Leo, when you talk about...
Hello?
When we talk about the off-the-pitch, maybe organization, you know, we in Cameroon is famous, we're talking about the influencers, but you know, I have a small concern.
Okay.
We focus only on the YouTube, only on the people who do TikTok. And because we need to look at different criteria in selecting people who can influence, who can boost the image of this nation. Most Anglophones do by YouTube. Few do to TikTok. That's why we have the YouTubers Association. And they perform the same role like the influencers, because most of the influencers are Francophone guys, and they do more of the TikTok. So you need to blend those who are doing YouTube and those who are doing TikTok. That's in terms of maybe those who are doing it electronically. Now, in terms of the fan base, building the fan base, and maybe we talked about that you intend to do one. I think that we watched fan base and competition during the university game era. Yes, yeah. We saw how when the University of Chang is playing, you could see how buoyant and how the stadium was vibrating. I think that it's not only limited, we should go back even to the university games and pick appropriate fan clubs from there that we can take for international competitions. Because I can tell you, there are some of these influencers which maybe their impact is not really felt.
Yeah, nobody may know them around Bunamuseli, nobody may know them in Kumba, the streets of Kumba. Nobody actually knows. So who are they influencing?
Who are they influencing if they don't know you in Cameroon? Because if you are not known in your hometown, then who then are you influencing?
I think we should even do a report on this. Go to the streets of Bamenda and ask if they know the influencers.
Leo, I don't know most of the influencers.
Yeah, so
we don't even need to start. Let's start here. If you ask Zang Denis, how many of those influencers do you know? He might definitely not be able to call names. I'm sure the only gentleman I know is the guy, the guitarist. That's maybe that's the only gentleman, and the girl who is from Tico with I don't want to describe her. Yeah, I'm sure those are the two prominent Cameroonians that people know out there, because in social media, those are the people talk a lot. Those are the two influencers people talk a lot about them. The other ones, I'm sure even Cameroonians barely don't know their names. Go back to fan club. Go back to fan club. University of Yaoundé 1, Ngwakile, their fan club was very good. University of Chang fan club was very good, and at the time during university games, award was given for the best fan club. Yeah. Why don't we go back and animate the stands with those fan club? I want to look at Bambutus Football Club of Mbuda when they are playing. Look at PWD Bamenda when they are playing. You get a fan club that comes from Bamenda. You get a fan club that comes when
Young Sport is playing.
Bambutus Football Club is playing. Go and get those people and take them to Qatar. Forget about some of these people you call who are in TikTok that Cameroonians barely don't even know them. Some of them don't have even more than 1,000 subscribers. And how does somebody who doesn't have more than 1,000 subscribers, you are carrying the person to Qatar as an influencer. I think it was the casting was not appropriate. If we want to do a proper casting, we should, if we want to talk about using the electronic system, that is the internet, we have to look at YouTubers, which is more of Anglo-Saxon. Most Anglophones are in there. You come with TikTok, you look at the best in TikTok that Cameroonians know them. We look at our traditional fan-based system, the way we play our local leagues, which are some of those clubs that pull a lot of fans. You have PWD Football Club of Bamenda, that is known to everyone. You have Bambutus Football Club of Muda, that is known by everyone. You pick those fan clubs. You have Cotton Sport, and those people will animate when Cameroon is playing in any platform. We should do the right thing, because I think that we have the right president with the right frame of mind. We should give him a lot of support, give him the right ideas.
Yeah, but you know the fourth vice president of FECA Food. You should discuss this with him.
Henry Njalakwan Jr.
Yeah, you should discuss this with him.
When he was in Qatar, and some days ago he was in the UK. I think when he comes back, these are things that we'll definitely see it in Southwest. I'll definitely talk about to see how. Thank God he is the head of the Commission for Marketing, Communication and Strategy for the Federation. We're going to sit, we'll talk a lot about these things to see how we can develop some of those areas in football.
Okay. We are out of time. Okay, yes, one last word.
Well, I think I still go by the issue of influencers. How much influence do they command, and who know them, and who are they influencing? I believe that journalists too are #1 influencers. If you are talking about supporting the Lions, and if you see prominent journalists whom we have been watching on TV with the flag and waving, people get to understand that this is serious. So influencers should not just be limited by people with 200 subscribers, political base selected, but it should be based on the intent to support Cameroon culture, promote Cameroon culture. I go by what Mr. Ako said. Let's look at this from a broad perspective. They go to university, look at also the social football clubs we have in Cameroon, and blend it too. Journalists also are not used as brand ambassadors. This is also another issue, where you see prominent journalists who are supposed to be as brand ambassadors, but they are not being taken. So I believe that they should also know that journalists are big influencers, because there are people out there, I can assure you, Mr. Liu, who when you go down, you hear children will say, I am Mr. Liu, I am Mr. Liu, I am Mr. Liu. That's influencer. That you are an influencer. Now you go down to the street, you ask, how many people do those other people influence? You rarely see. If you have a fan base in Tole and Tico and the rest, that's influencing. People want to emulate, but who are they influencing? Which means you are a brand ambassador, but you see brands don't take journalists as ambassadors, either for drink, for whatever they use, but you see they go for people who are not even influencers. Okay. If somebody sees your face in a brand, it's a market that know, wow, this is credible. So okay. I'm just saying that we should look at it from a broad perspective.
Okay, Mr. Lawrence, thank you for accepting our invitation today.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure to be on my media prime.
Wanchia Cynthia, what's the next stage? When are you coming back, Wanchia, and what are you guys planning? To continue celebrating the victory over Brazil?
No, I think I don't have a very long stay here. I should be back anytime from now. But to tell you the truth, it's a wonderful place. The organization is so on point. There are just many lessons that other federations or other countries are drawing from the way Qatar prepared and is hosting this World Cup. There are just too many lessons to take back home, and looking forward to seeing what the next host will do past 2022.
Thank you very much for coming today. Mr. Okay, Mr. Zang, thank you for coming all the way from Boya.
Thank you too. Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure. We
hope you are going to be coming the more, so that people can know you also. Mr. Ako, we're grateful that you came.
Thank you so much, Mr. Liu. It's a pleasure to share the same platform with Zang, the author of We Go Take the Cup.
Indeed, we are going to take the cup next year in the Ivory Coast. We want to thank you all who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.